Hello, my Frizzy friends. Today I have another tutorial for you, another beginner tutorial. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to make this adorable little whale with the optional water spout in the top here. But instead of using blanket yarn today, I am going to show you on some cotton yarn because I want you to see the stitching really easily, especially since you might be a beginner crocheting. So why don't you come on back and we will get started and I'll let you know what you're going to need. Okay, so what we have going today are some cotton yarns here. I got these at the dollar store. So this is Crafter Square. I've got a gray and a minty green. You can choose whatever two colors that you'd like, but this is what I'm going to use for my little whale. And then you'll need some sort of stuffing. I use polyester fiber fill stuffing. You're going to need a yarn needle, a stitch marker, and I have a 3.5 millimeter hook today, so that is the size I'll be using. If you do want to make this in blanket yarn, instead of a 3.5 millimeter hook, you're going to want to do something like a 6 or 7 millimeter hook, depending on your tension. Okay, so definitely upsize your hook if you are working with blanket yarn. But for cotton, acrylic, any 4-weight yarn, 3.5 is just fine. All right. The other thing you'll need are a pair of 8 millimeter safety eyes. You can actually go a little lower, a little higher depending on what you can find, but I'm using 8 millimeter with the backs and a pair of scissors as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to do when you're making these is you need to start out with a magic ring or double magic ring. And the difference is very easy, okay? The single regular magic ring, you're going to make a pistol shape like so. You're going to wrap it around once and twice. For the regular magic ring, you just go under the first loop, up and over the second loop, pull that second loop forward to make your A, slip the fingers out, or slip your fingers out, but you're holding on to the sides, okay? And then make sure you've got your working yarn here. You're going to yarn over with that and pull through, and that just creates a little slip stitch there on your circle, and that just makes it so you can take your fingers away if you want to. So to do a single crochet, you go into the circle, yarn over from the back, pull forward a loop, yarn over again, and pull through 2 loops. Okay, so that's a single crochet. So you'll do that just however many you would need to start whatever project you're working on. Now we'll go ahead and I'll show you a couple more single crochets, and then I want to show you what the double magic ring looks like. Okay, so another single crochet going in through the center circle, yarning over from the back, pull forward a loop, that's 2 loops on your hook, yarning over again and pulling through all loops on your hook, that's a single crochet, going in again, yarning over from the back, pull forward a loop, yarning over again and pulling through those loops. So that's 3. And you can tell because you're going to look at the braid on top. See the little V's that you're making? Looks like a braid. There's 1 from my hook, 1, 2, and 3. So you know you've done 3 single crochets. All right. So now that I've showed you the magic ring, let me just show you the double magic ring because there's only one difference. All right. You make your shape, your little pistol shape with your hand. I'm holding the tail here between my back 2 fingers. We're going to wrap it once, twice, and 3 times. So you see there's 3 now across our fingers. We're going to go under the first 2 loops, up and over that last loop, and pull forward the last loop, making your little A. Okay, now you're going to pinch the sides and just keep that working yarn free. You don't need to pinch that, but pinch the other sides so that your working yarn is free and you're holding your ring, okay? Now yarning over 1 and pulling through, and that way you can take your hands free and you'll see that there's 2 loops here. That's the only difference. There's 2 loops. So now what you want to do is starting on your single crochets. We need to do 6 to get this whale started. So we'll go through both loops, yarn over from the back, pull forward a loop, that's 2 on your hook, yarn over and pull through. All right, do that again, go through the center, yarning over from the back, pull forward a loop, yarn over again and pull through. Okay, 2. So we're going to keep going. 3, going in, yarning over from the back, pull forward your loop, yarn over, pull through. Okay, I'm going to get really close here. Going in through the center, pull forward a loop, that's 2, yarning over and pull through. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more. All right, so now we've got 6 on our magic ring, but you can't leave it like that, right? So what we'll do, if you're just doing the standard magic ring, you'll just have this tail to pull, right? You just pull it straight. But with your 2 rings here, this is just going to make it even more secure, that center circle, so it won't come loosened after time, right? So gently start to pull that tail. You'll see one of the 2 start to go in. Then you're going to grab that one first and pull it. And what that does is it pulls the other loop in, okay? So then you just have the 1 loop. Then you take your tail and you pull through, and that tucks both loops in. And so that just really solidifies that center circle there. So with 4-weight yarns, I tend to do the double magic ring. With blanket yarns, sometimes it's a little tough to get that second one in there because blanket yarn tends to snap sometimes and break. So I don't tend to do it on the blanket or, anything bigger, thicker than the blanket yarn. I will tend to do just the regular old magic ring. Okay, so place your stitch marker. That ends the first round, and we're going to start with round 2 here. Now with your tail, you can drape it across your braid and work around it. That will just continue to secure the tail of your yarn. Or you can tuck it to the back, and then it can be on the inside of your piece. What I like to do is just go around it a couple times, and then I'll stick it to the back there. So what we need to do now for round 2 is we need to go underneath the V, all right? So we're going to go underneath. So you might need, especially on that first one on the second round, sometimes it can be a little tight depending on your tension. So you might need your nails to kind of guide your hook underneath, but you can see I've got that be over the top of my hook now. All right, so I've gotten that way. Now we're going to yarn over from the back, pull forward a loop. Now you got the 2 on your hook, yarn over again and pull through. All right, so that's a single crochet, but for round 2, we're going to increase around. The only difference between a single crochet and an increase is that an increase, you put 2 single crochets into each of the prior round stitches. So we'll go back under that same stitch that we were just under, yarning over, pull forward a loop, yarning over again, and pulling through. So that's an increase, super easy. We've just done 1 increase, so that's 2 in the 1. And now I'll go ahead and do that all the way around, doing 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So at the end of round 2, you're going to end up having 12 stitches at the end of your round. Okay, so now going into the next one, I do 1 and 2, and then again. So you will end with, as I said, you'll end with 12 stitches. And especially if you're new to crochet, you may want to check your stitch count at the end of each round just to make sure you've got them correct, because it'll end up making you off count later on if you haven't got the count right, or if you skipped a stitch or something. So what I would do then is just count your braid all the way around. Okay, so let's do that together on round 2. We want to make sure we have 12. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the one the stitch marker is in right there is 12. All right, so now you know you did the stitches. You can take your stitch marker out and replace it on your working loop here on your hook. All right, and then now we can start round 3 on our whale. All right, so round 3, we're still building up the size of our whale. So we're going to do the pattern single crochet, then increase, and then just keep repeating that pattern back and forth all the way around. So we'll end up with 18 stitches by the end of it. So in this first stitch here, you're just putting 1 single crochet. So you're yarning over, pulling up that loop, yarn over, pull through. Then the next one, you'll do two single crochets in the prior stitch, right? So here we go. That gives you the increase. Then start the pattern again. So single crochet in the next, and then increase in the next. And go ahead on your own and continue on single crochet, then increase in that pattern all the way around. I will meet you at the end and we will start the next round. All right, so we have finished round 3. We're going to start round 4. Super easy round, guys. We're just doing single crochets all the way around. So just putting one in each stitch around. So by the end of this one, you are going to still have 18 stitches, counting if you count all the way around, okay? So nice and easy. And I will meet you back at the beginning of round 5. Okay, so we finished round 4. Round 5, we're increasing again. So we're going to do the pattern 2 single crochets and then an increase and use that pattern all the way around. So we'll do a single crochet in the next one. We've already replaced the stitch marker here. So there's 1. Now we're going to do another single in the next one. Okay, another single crochet, and then in the third stitch you're going to do your increase, so putting 2 single crochets into that one stitch. All right, so that's the pattern. You just keep repeating that. So we'll do another set together. There's 1 single crochet in the next, 1 single crochet in the next, and then you put 2 single crochets in the next, right, and get your increase. All right. Nice and easy. We're just going to continue that pattern all the way around until we end round 5. We will have a total of 24 stitches by the end of this round. All right, I will meet you back at the end. Okay, so once you've finished that round, we'll start round 6. We're once again just going to do a single crochet all the way around. So we'll end with the same amount of stitches, which is at 24 at this point. And then on our next round, we'll do another increase. So what that's doing, just so you guys know, is we are slowly building up our whale. So instead of having it completely flat by increasing it every single round, we're putting a single crochet round in there because that's going to start to mound the top of our whale, but very gradually. That way it's, you know, it's nice and rounded there, just as a whale's head should be. So I will meet you back at the end and we'll start another increase one. All right. All right, we finished round 6. We're going to start round 7. And for this one, we are doing 3 single crochets and then an increase and following that pattern all the way around. So we'll put a single crochet into this first one, single crochet into the next, single crochet into the third one, and then put 2 single crochets into the 4th stitch there. And that's the pattern, you guys. So 3 single crochets and then an increase in that 4th stitch. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 single crochets, now an increase. All right, so go ahead and finish this round and I will meet you back at the end. All right, so the next round, which is round 8, we're just single crocheting all the way around. So by the end of this one, you should still have the total of 30 single crochets, right? So 30 stitches by the end of this one. And then we'll have one more increase round. So I'll meet you back at the start of that one. All right, so now that you've finished round 8, we'll do our last increase round, which is round 9. And we'll do 5 single crochets and then an increase. That's going to be our pattern, right? So we'll do single crochet in the next 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll do 2 in the one. So our increase in the next one. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, and then we just repeat that pattern all the way around. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochets. Okay, and then in the next one we'll do 2 in the 1. So go ahead and repeat that around. For the next round, which is round 10, you're just going to single crochet all the way around, okay? So I'm going to actually meet you at the end of round 10 when we're just about to start round 11. Okay, so do the next round yourself, just single crochets, and I'll meet you back. All right, for the next round, which is round 11, we need to single crochet, and we're going to be setting up for attaching the next color, which is going to happen in our next round, so in round 12. So to do that, what we first need to do is we're going to start with 32 single crochets, and then when we get to the last 3 stitches, so the last 3 stitches here, that's when we're going to work in the back loop only. So we're leaving the front loop to attach later when we can start making our tail up, okay? So you don't really have to count. Just make sure by the time you get to the end that you count back 3 stitches, leaving those ones not worked into. And then we'll go ahead and do the back loops together. All right, so just go ahead and do the 32 single crochets. When you get to the last 3 stitches, hold on and I will assist at that point for you. Okay, so we've gotten to the last 3 stitches here, 1, 2, and 3, okay, before your stitch marker. Now we're going to be working in the back loops only. So if you're looking at the V here, the front loop is the one closest to you. So the front half of the V is going to be the one closest to you. So if we were going into the front loops, that's what you would go into, is just under that V. But since we're going to do the back loops, we're leaving the front loops unworked. So we'll pick those up later when we're ready to do the tail. So in order to get the back loops, you're going to go into the center of the V, right in here, okay? You're going to go into the center of the V, through to the back, just picking up that back loop. That's the only loop you're picking up here. You're leaving the front one alone. And as usual, you're just going to do your single crochet. So you can see that front loop left behind. Do you see that? All right, do that again. So go in the center of the V, through to the inside of your piece. Yarn over, pull forward, yarn over, pull through. That's your single crochet. And then we're doing that one more time through the center of the V. All right, so that's your 3 single crochets in the back loop only. So you've got that nice 3 front loops there that you can work into when we're ready to start building up the tail. So we're going to leave those for now. Replace your stitch marker. So in the next round, which is round 12, we're going to be starting with this color and we'll be changing to our underbelly color when we get back around to where this tail is. All right, what we'll do is 32 single crochets in both loops, so we're only leaving these loops in the front. We're going to go back in and continue on with underneath of both loops there. So you can see on the V, I'm going underneath the whole V. And we're just going to single crochet around 32 stitches again, stopping at the last 3 stitches there, just as before. And I will meet you back on that 32nd stitch, okay? So don't do the 32nd stitch. So just hold off on that, and I'll meet you back and show you how you're going to finish the 32nd stitch. All right, so we've done 31 stitches, so we have 4 stitches left. We're going to be changing colors in this 32nd stitch here, all right? So you're going to start like you would normally, going under both of the loops, yarning over and pulling forward 1 loop. So now you have 2 on your hook, okay? Grab your second color, whatever that is for you, okay? So for me, it's this gray tone. Now I'm going to yarn over, so you'll see I've got my tail here and my working yarn. I made a little loop. So I'm just going to put that loop over and pull that loop through. Okay, and that's finishing off this stitch and changing colors. Now, it's not tethered that well, but what we're going to do is, since we're done with the mint green yarn, you can cut that one away. And what I like to do is tie these 2 together on the inside of your work. Okay, this just helps to fasten it You can work around the stitches as well. That's another option, laying them across. I just don't feel like it's tethered as well unless you tie it. So I like to do a knot that gets hidden on the inside of your work. Okay, I'll just do a 3, why not? So we'll just tie that off. You can either tuck the tails into your work and use them as part of the stuffing, or you can cut them away. But now you should have your one gray one here on the hook. Everything else is in the inside there, okay? So now we've got the last 3 stitches here. This is round 12. We're going to be doing 3 single crochets in the back loop only. Okay, and so again, we're going to have those front loops in the front because we're going to be picking those up later when we are ready to build up the tail. But for now, working in the back loops, we're going to do the next 3 single crochets, going in through the V to the back, pull forward a loop, leaving that front loop unworked, yarn over, pull through, there's 1, again, there's 2, and 1 more. There's 3. All right, there you go. So now you can see we've got 2 rows here where we've got 3 front loops on 2 different rounds, okay? So that'll be 6 front loops we can work into later on. So now replace your stitch marker, okay? And we're going to continue working in the back loops. Now what this is going to do for us is create a cute little ridge, which almost makes it look like he has a little mouth. So we're just working in the back loops for this next round here. This is going to be round 13. Round 13 with our undercolor here, we're doing 5 single crochets and an invisible decrease, and that pattern is going to happen 4 times, okay? So let's do this together. Again, we're doing the back loops. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to do invisible decrease. So invisible decrease, what you're going to do is go through the V again, okay? Now you're going to have to go into the second V. So you're not yarning over yet, okay? So you just went into the next 2 centers of the V's, okay? So do you see that? So you're going into the center of the V to the back, then do the same in the next one. Okay, and that picks up those 2 back loops. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. Okay, yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. Okay, that's an invisible decrease. It's a lot harder to do it on a back loop only. So the other option is to do just a regular decrease. So a regular decrease is like this. You're going to go in through that back loop, yarn over 1, now go into the next loop, yarn over again, now yarn over and pull through all the loops. Okay, so that's a decrease. That's a standard decrease, except for you wouldn't do it under the back loop normally. You would do it under both loops, right? So that's how a decrease is. In a traditional invisible decrease, you're actually doing the work in the front loop only. You're actually going into the front loop underneath the front of the front loop through to the middle of the V and doing it this way. So just to show you, then you would yarn over and pull through. Okay, that's how a normal decrease would look like. That was just to show you the difference there, since this is kind of a new technique for you. Or might be a new technique for you. Maybe you just already know. But so this, I'm going to stick with this decrease instead of the invisible, just because it's a little easier on these back loops that we're doing. And then, but traditionally, I do prefer the invisible decrease. I do have a video kind of showcasing the difference of those. I'll put that in the tags above if you're interested in kind of diving deeper into the difference between decreasing and invisible decreasing with me. All right, so we're doing another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, another 5, and then we're going to do our next decrease. So again, to do the regular decrease, you're yarning over, then go to the next one, yarn over again. That's 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all those loops. So we've done that pattern twice. We're going to just do that pattern 2 more times. together. So we're going in back loops only. There's, let's see, 4, 5, and then we're going to do a decrease. Okay, yarn over, pull through all the loops. And I do also tell you in the video that I'm linking above here, I tell you why you might want to do one over the other. So I really encourage you to kind of open that in a new tab and have a watch and see kind of the whys as to why, as we design things, we might do one or the other. Okay, because sometimes you'll see things in patterns and you're like, why did the designer do it that way? So this helps you kind of understand our mindsets, right? All right, so I've done that 5 times. Now we need to do 4 single crochets in the back loops only. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then we're going to do a single crochet in both loops. So see, these were the ones for our future tail. So we're going to do a single crochet underneath both loops now, since you already did the back loop on that prior round. And now you just have 2 stitches left, 1 and 2. Now we're going to do an invisible decrease. Okay, so remember when I said invisible decrease, you're usually in the front loop. So the front loop, you go underneath the V just like you would normally, but come up through the center of the V. Okay, so you see that? So that's 1. Now go under the next loop, coming up again through the center of the V. That's 2. Yarn over, pull through those 2. So you should have 2 on your hook. Yarn over, pull through those 2. Okay. So that's the invisible decrease. It doesn't create as big of a bump. When you're doing the back loops, though, it doesn't really make a big difference. That's the decrease right there. So it's easier to see, but that's the underbody. So that's our invisible decrease. We can replace our stitch marker here. Okay. And now we can move on to round 14. Now, after round 14, we're going to be placing the safety eyes. So let's go ahead and finish round 14 together, and then we will get our eyes going on our wheel. All right, so for round 14, we'll do the pattern single crochet. This is going to be both loops, okay? We're not doing the back loops anymore, so that's your single crochet. Then you'll do an invisible decrease. So again, through under that front loop, then under the next stitch's front loop, up through the center, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, okay? Now we're decreasing quick because we want to make sure it doesn't bulbous out like an egg would. We're trying to get it to have more of a flat bottom. So I did a single crochet, and then we're going to go ahead and do another invisible decrease. So we're going under those 2 front loops, yarning over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we'll keep doing that all the way around, single crochet and then invisible decrease, all the way around until we get to the end, and then grab your safety eyes and we will place our safety eyes together. Okay, so we've gotten to the point of needing to put in the eyes. I've done one eye here, all right, but we're going to put in the second eye together. So what you need to do is figure out where your tail's going to go here. Okay, so you see those are the back loops that we're going to do our tail in. Just put your finger there and act like your finger is the tail. And that way you can kind of gauge where the eye placement is. You can look at it from the top so you can see where my eye is there. So you want to try to make sure that wherever you're placing the one eye, that you've got about equal distance between the eye and your other finger where your tail is going to be. All right, now where you're going to place the eye, if you're looking at your whale, is not right next to this front loop that you left behind, right? So not this row, but in between this first row and the second row there. So you're going in between. You got to go into the holes in between the stitches, okay? There, you're going to leave about 7 or so stitches in between the eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go right in that hole there. All right, so see that? Just gently wiggle it, and you'll start to feel that it's going through the stitches. You can even see here, this is the inside of the whale. So get those little grooves. So the back of a safety eye has little grooves. See, it almost looks like Darth Vader's helmet. All right, so once you've got the eyeball in, you need to take your safety eye backing, which mine looks like this. All right, so wherever it is concaved in, that's the side you're going to place towards your fabric. Okay, do you see that? All right, now I have this handy dandy tool. This is called an eye snapper. You can see it says eye snapper there. And what's nice about this is specifically is for safety eyes. It has a pad on one side to protect the eye from being scratched. Then it has the other side, which is for where the post of your safety eye is going to go. It also comes with additional attachment so that this one here where your post goes, for those safety eyes that are bigger, then you have a different backing and you can just push this out from the bottom. You can push it out and put in the next one depending on how big your project is. But watch this, okay? So put the pad to the eye. The side that's got the hole in it, that's for where your back of the post is going to go. Okay, see that? Now you just squeeze. Okay, so that is, these ones don't really make a click per se, but a lot of times it's more satisfying because you'll actually get a good click on the eye. These are kind of cheapy eyes, so they're not going to do it. But you can see it's not coming off. Okay, so it is tethered down, and it was much easier than trying to get your fingers to do the snapping. Otherwise, you'd have to push down both sides, and it can really start to hurt your fingers after a while. So that's why I got my little tool. And now you can look and see, there's the little whale's head, side view there, and then his little tail is going to go here. So you can see that that's centered. All right, so now we're going to continue decreasing, and we'll make sure we stuff before we close on the bottom here. But in our next round, round 15, we're going to do the pattern 2 single crochets. So here's 1 and 2, and then do an invisible decrease. So underneath the first 2 front loops, by your hook, going through those 2, and then yarn over, go through the last 2. Again, just keep following that pattern. So single crochet, and then invisible decrease. I'm going through those front loops again, going by the first eye here, and continue that all the way around until we finish that round. Okay, on the next round, round 16, you should be starting this round with 15 stitches. You're going to end the round with 12 stitches because we're going to do 3 single crochets. So 1, move that stitch marker out of the way there, 2, 3 single crochets, and then your invisible decrease. You got this round, and then after this round we have to stuff it before our hole gets too small, and we won't be able to stuff it after that. So grab your stuffing when you're done with this round. Again, we're just doing the pattern 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease. We will end up with 12 stitches and we'll be ready to stuff. So you can use stuffing, the polyester fiber fill. You can also use scrap yarn. So I've actually got a bunch of scrap yarn here, and I'm just going to use that, try to get some of that used up. So if you're using blanket yarn, you can always use the blanket yarn stuffing. I've got some blanket yarn in here, which acts as really nice stuffing because it's just so thick and plush. But otherwise you can use polyester fiber fill as well. But since our stitches are so small, this won't poke out or anything. and it uses up some of the waste yarn that we have. So this is another good way of using those little scraps that you end up with at the ends of your projects. That was a rather big scrap, but it wasn't enough to really do much with, so that's why it was a scrap. So we're just going to keep stuffing until we get it to the size that we'd like, and I'll meet you back when you're done with the stuffing. Make sure you also get a little stuffing around the eyes, the posts in the back. That just will make it so it doesn't kind of poke in at all. It'll just have a nice shape to it. So just kind of shape as you go. Right, and for the last round of the head, we will do a 2 single crochet invisible decrease pattern. So single crochet in the next, single crochet in the next, and then do your invisible decrease through those front loops. 1 and 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and just keep on going all the way around, doing 2 single crochets and an invisible decrease. I will meet you back at the end of this round, and then we will close the gap. All right, so I took out my stitch marker. Now we have 9 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch in the next. So you go underneath the 2 loops, yarn over, pull through, and then pull that loop you just made through that final loop on your hook, and that leaves you with 1 loop. That's a slip stitch. Now you can fasten off, leaving a tail. So you're going to go ahead and cut away your yarn. You want to start to pull that loop and pull the tail through your loop, okay? And this will fasten it so that it's knotted and it's not going anywhere. All right, if you want to add a little more stuffing, you can, or otherwise, what you're going to do is close this gap. So grab your yarn needle. Here's mine. Thread your yarn needle with that tail. Okay, and to close the gap, you want to weave this yarn through the front loops only of these stitches. So you're going to start going into this next loop here. You're going to go in the front loop, underneath that first front loop, coming up through the center of the V. Then through this next stitch, you're going to go with the center of the V back out to the front. So that's weaving it. Do you see that? Okay. So don't pull tight yet. Keep it loose just so you can see your stitching. Again, going from the outside to the inside of the V. Then on the next stitch, the center of the V back to the outside. Again, weaving through those front loops. Okay, from the outside in, and then next stitch is the inside back out. So we've done 3 sets, so that's 6 stitches. All right, so again, front loops, out to in to out. And then since we had 9, you can just do the front loop of the last one. And you will then pull and watch as it cinches it closed, okay? Use your finger to kind of manipulate it so you get the shaping that you want. Okay, so that's nice and snug. Now you can go through, what I like to do is kind of go through another stitch here. Then I come out somewhere else on the underside because I like to tie this off one more time. So, okay, so see how it's kind of flattened it that way? Now I'd like to tie off one more time. So what I do is I pick up a stitch anywhere underneath because it's the same color. Make sure you get all the fibers of that one stitch and you don't split them or even grab some from another stitch. So you're just grabbing one stitch there. Gently start to pull, go through it one more time. This is just to help prevent it from loosening with, playing with it if you're giving it to little kids, that kind of stuff, right? So you're tethering it to that stitch basically. So you do have a little knot here. You're going to lift the knot up to see where that wiggle space is underneath. Okay, come out somewhere else. And as you pull, you'll see that that knot tucks in. See? So that knot just tucked on into the inside of your whale. Now you can cut it away because it's just like an extra faceting off basically, so that way you don't have to worry about it. And then there's our little piece of thread coming out, so you just stick your needle in there and wiggle it, and that will pull that thread onto the inside. There's our little dumpling head of our whale. We need to do the tail next. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is grab our main color. We're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. So we're going to wrap the yarn around once. Now take your tail going in through the center of that oval that you have there that you just wrapped around. You're going to pull forward this loop, slip your fingers out, grab the tail, and then pull. So you see that knot that it's creating? That's a slip knot, so it can be tightened down to your hook. So that's what you're going to do. So now grab your whale. You're going to start under this, the front loop that you left behind here. You're going to go under that first loop. Okay. Now grab your yarn back from the back, pull forward. Okay, and then yarn over and pull through. That not only tethers that slip knot, also does a single crochet at the same time. So continue around, going underneath the front loop that you left behind. We're single crocheting just to start creating that base of the tail. Then flip gumdrop around and make sure you get that first stitch there. See where there's a little bit of a break. Okay, grab that and continue the remaining 3 here, and that's going to give us 6 single crochets basically. That starts our tail. Okay, so now it looks kind of like a U. It's not connected. So now we'll place our stitch marker, gumdrops facing upwards. So now we're going to go back in. Now what I do with this tail is if there's any gaps, I do use that to just kind of tighten up any kind of gaps that you might see that you don't like. You can always use that to stitch, but otherwise you can work around it if you'd like, and that would also just tether it some more in there. So now round 2, we're going to increase and then do 2 single crochets 2 times. So we're going to increase on the ends. So 1 and 2. Then do the 2 single crochets to get to the other end. 1 and 2. We'll do another increase, 1 and 2 into the same stitch, building out the width of the tail, and then you just do a single crochet into each of those last 2. Okay. There we go. Then you can go ahead and replace your stitch marker. All right. Now to build it up faster and to get the shaping of the tail, in round 3, you're going to do the pattern 2 double crochets in the next. So that's going to be an increase, but you're doing it with double crochets. Then a half double crochet, then a single crochet, and then a half double crochet. So let's go ahead and do this together, okay? To do a double crochet, for those that haven't done one before, you're going to yarn over first, go in to the stitch, yarn over, pull forward, that's a 3rd loop now, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double crochet, okay? Do that again. So yarn over, you start with the yarn over. Go back into that same loop, yarn over, pull forward a 3rd loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's a double crochet. Next, we're going to do a half double crochet. So half double, you start with the yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over again, just like if you were doing a double. Now you got 3 on your hook. Now yarn over and just pull through all those loops. So that's a half double crochet. Okay. Next, we're doing a single crochet. So single crochet in the next, just a regular old single, and then do another half double. So again, yarning over, go into the next, yarn over from the back, pull forward the third loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So next you're going to do a yarn over, going into the next stitch, yarn over, pull forward a third loop, yarn over. Now we're doing 2 double crochets in this one, so pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your double crochet. Then do another one in that same stitch. So yarn over, go into that stitch again, yarn over, pull through your third loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so this is the sides of your tail that you're making. Now do a half double, so yarn over again, going into the next stitch, so you're going from the inside of the tail back to the outside. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Okay, then do a single crochet, and then do one more half double. So yarn over, go through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. All right, so you're gonna take your stitch marker off. Now we're gonna go beyond the stitch marker because we need to end up in the very corner space there. So you're just gonna do 2 single crochets. So continue around and do 1 single crochet here and then 1 more single crochet, because what we need to do now is we need to flatten the tail, and we're going to work back across the tail, but before we weren't in that edge stitch. Now we are in the edge. Starting with a double crochet, you're going to go back. Okay, so you see the one right back behind. We're going to go back through that one, then jump across to the stitch that you can reach on the other side. See how we're going from both sides here through the sandwich of it. Yarn over, pull through those stitches. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now in that same stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch. So go back into those 2, the same one that we just did our double crochet in. Yarn over, pull through a loop. Okay, see, that's 2 loops, and then just slip stitch it. So you just slip it through that last hoop. So now you've only got 1 on your hook. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets. So we're working down the center of the tail. So go into the next stitch underneath the braid. Then go across the tail and pick up the next stitch on the other side of the tail. So you see that? We've got 2 V's across here. Yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, and pull through. We've done our double crochet, slip stitch, single crochet, and we're doing these 2 sides together. So let's go ahead, we'll do another single crochet across both sides. Okay, so then in this last one, we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, go across the last 2 stitches here, yarn over from the back, pull forward a third loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that gives you the other side of the tail. And just go into that same space and just do a slip stitch. So you're just grabbing a loop here from the back. So you're yarning over, pulling forward that loop, and then pulling that through the one on your hook to tie this off. Okay, because that's the end of the tail. So cut away your string or your yarn. Now, as an option for you, you're going to fasten off the tail just as usual. Now, the tail does pretty much, it just kind of sticks out straight. You can take a couple tucking stitches if you want to have the tail facing upward. That's just personal preference, but you can definitely do that. We'll certainly need to tuck this tail in. So since you may be new to Amis, I want to just do this with you. Okay, so this is from before. So if you notice there's a little bit of a kind of a hole. It's not really big. It's not anything you need to worry about. But you could, if you wanted to, just kind of take take a stitch here that will actually just tether those two sides together if you want to. Okay. You can also grab this little piece here, kind of tether it down even further. And since I'm already using this one, I'm just going to use this to do the tucking because you can. So basically come up above the tail if you're going to do some tuck stitches here to fasten this tail to the back side. You're just going to pick up a stitch on the tail, go back into that same hole, coming out somewhere next to where you are. Okay, pull that. So that starts to pull the tail upward. And you can do that across a couple of the stitches around the base of the tail. And again, just picking up a stitch on the tail, going back into where your yarn is coming from, like so. Then coming out, I'm going to do one more on the other side of the tail. Okay. So see, that's starting to pull that tail upward a little bit. And I'm going to do one more tuck stitch here. I'll grab this one right here on the tail, and I'm going to come back down into the body, coming out along the other side because I need to do a fastening off stitch as well, just so that those little tuck stitches, they just pull the tail gently upward. You can tack it as high if you want, but I'm just going to keep it just slightly elevated like that. So now I'm going to tie this string off. So to do that, you need to pick up a stitch nearby, whether that's on the body area or on the tail, whatever's closest to where your thread is coming out. Okay, so you see how I've got that one? You start to pull, which will form a loop, go in through that center loop and tie, and that just creates a little knot, so you're kind of fastening it to the edge. Then you'll see the knots kind of pulling up there, so you'll see this little gap space. That's where you want to put your needle, coming out somewhere else on the body, and just pop that little knot goes into the body. You can cut this one away. Okay, and then taking your needle, go somewhere nearby and then just do a little wiggle, and that'll pull the thread into the inside of the body. And then on this one, you just need to basically tuck this in. It's already been fastened off. So you can just go in nearby, right next door there. You can go through the tail, coming out somewhere else. Okay. And then just cut that away. And again, take your needle, wiggle it to pull that thread in. If that doesn't work, you can also take your needle and just gently, sometimes the back of your needle actually works better because it's a little thicker, just to push that little tail into the center of your piece. So there's the whale with his tail, but it's missing fins. So we do need to do those. So again, you're going to grab your main body color, grab your hook. Okay, so we're going to do the fins here on our little whale to finish up the whale, and then there is the option to do a spout as well. So I will take you through that too. You're going to be crocheting furthest from the eye towards the eye, okay? So where the eye is, you're going to count 7 stitches back, and that's going to be where we're starting. So get your slip knot on your hook. So you just wrap it around your fingers, put the tail through the center of the oval, grab that loop, and then holding your working yarn, pull the tail. That forms your slip knot. And just slip that onto your hook and tighten it onto your hook there. All right, so let's count together. So here's my eyes. I'm going to go 1, 2, these just the single loops, right? These are the front loops left behind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm starting here, picking up that stitch right there. Okay. And I will do 4 single crochets towards the eye. So I've yarned over, pull forward a loop. So that's 2 on your hook, yarn over and pull through. All right, so that's the first one. Let's do that again. Go to the next front loop, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over and pull through. That's 2. Go through the next front loop, do another single crochet, and then one more, go through this one right next door, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over and pull through. So you've got 4 stitches to start your little fin. Okay, we're going to turn our work. We are not chaining 1. This is actually going to help us create a bit of a decrease without having to actually do that decrease. So just turn your work like so. Okay, so now when you go into the next stitch, what you're doing is you're skipping that stitch closest to your hook where the thread is going over, and you're going to go into that second one right there. All right, so going into that second one, we're going to do 3 single crochets across. Okay, so there's 1, here's 2, and 3. Making sure you're getting both of the whole V, right? Go under the whole stitch. There's 3. Okay, so that's building up our little fin. Again, we're going to turn our work and not chain 1. Normally you would chain 1 when you turn. That's very common to do. In this one, I'm not doing that, and then I'm skipping that first stitch that you'd normally work into if you did do a chain 1. So we're skipping that one. We're going to go into the next stitch over right here, and we're going to just single crochet 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. This just makes the fin less bulky, and it gives a decrease without actually decreasing. So it's kind of a fun, easy way to do it. So again, turn one more time. Do not chain 1. Keep it as it is. Skip that first one and just go into that last stitch there and do 1 single crochet. And then you can pull your yarn, make a loop, cut off cut your tail, then put it through the loop and fasten off. So that's 1 fin down. You'll use this tail to just kind of tether, make sure it's tethered nicely to the body, and then, you know, tie it in how we did over here on the tail. And then this one you're just going to weave in to the fin just as much as you can, and then you can clip that one away because it's already been fastened off and knotted. All right, but we'll go ahead and do the other fin just because it's quick. All right, so again, we're starting with a slip knot on our hook here. All right, then we're going to do the same thing where we look for the eye. Actually, on the second eye, you don't count back 7 because what we want is that it's going to be 3 stitches, right? 1, 2, 3. So we're skipping those first 3 stitches on this side. And then we'll go, since we're going to go from this right side to the left, skip those 3, go into the 4th loop. We're going to do 4 single crochets in those front loops. So there's 1, go into the next, do another single crochet, there's 2, and again, there's 3, and again, there's 4. Okay, then you'll flip your work, skip that first one, and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches across. You're just going back and forth as you build up this little triangle fin. Okay, then turn it again, skip the first, going into the next, you'll have 2 single crochets across. Turn your work, skip the first, and 1 single crochet to finish. Pull the thread and cut it away and pull it through the loop to fasten. Okay, so there's your little whale fins, right? As cute as they are, so cute. So see, making it in this acrylic yarn made it much smaller whale. We just have to tie in these ends to make it polished, and the optional spout on the top. Now, one additional thing you can do if you're making them small like this is this could be a super cute keychain. So you could just hook a little keychain fastener to one of the stitches here in this magic ring at the top that we did, and have this as a little keychain. You could make them into ornaments for Christmas. You could even do them in Christmassy colors if you want. Another detail you can do with a little remnant piece of acrylic yarn is make little cheek marks. So you can take some pink or whatever color, and you can make just a little single stitch for a little cheek mark here on the side. If you'd like to do that, it's another option. So there's lots of fun things you can do with them. So I'm just going to take you through real quick how to tie in these ends, and then we will go through making the spout that is optional. Okay, so we're just weaving it back through. You can see I'm going through the center of the stitches, and you know that because if you look on either side, you can't see the needle through. So you're just kind of weaving it a little bit, and that's really it. You don't have to do that much with it. It's not coming undone. Okay, and then you can just cut that away and just kind of tuck it back into the center of the stitch there. And then on the one closest to your wale, I would recommend you go into the body just so that that knot is tethered to the base of your wale. So go into that stitch right here on the base, coming out somewhere else on the body of your wale. See, that tethers the little fin forward even, which is great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this other side. I'm going to take this, since it's kind of a little loose, it seems like, and I'm going to tether to that one. Okay, and that way, when I tuck it in, it's not going to look like it's loose. See that? So now it's nice and fastened on both sides. So if you need to do that, you can. Otherwise, you just fasten it to any stitch on the same color. You just don't want to fasten it here. You might see where you've done that since it's a different color. All right. So now I've got my little toot coming out. So I'm gonna wiggle and get that to go pop in. And then I will go ahead and do this side myself, and I'll come back and we'll work on your optional water spout, okay? All right, so I've gone ahead and tucked in those ends so the little fins are there, and they actually help them stand really nicely too. But if you are going to want to do an extra little spout here at the top with the water coming out, go ahead and set him aside for now. Leave a tail that's going to be long enough to stitch it down. And then this is the only part that's not no-sew, because you will have to tether it down to that original magic ring that we did there in the beginning. All right, so we're going to do the water spout. So what you need is whatever color you're going to use for the water. Leave a tail for sewing. Then you're going to go ahead and create a slip knot on your hook. Okay, just like that. Now chain 3, and do this fairly loosely. Okay, yarn over and pull through once, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, so there's your 3. Now you're going to go in through the center of the V. Okay, so through the center of the V, yarn over, pull forward your loop, and then just pull through the loop on your hook there. Okay, so that's a slip stitch to connect. And this is our hole that we've made. We've made a little ring now. So we're going to go, for the next round, we're going to go through the center hole there, and we're going to crochet 3 single crochets into that center hole, okay? So we'll do the first one, do another one, again keeping these fairly loose so that you don't it doesn't make it too tight and make it hard to get into. And then the last one more time, and 3. Okay, go in through that center hole, and grab your tail and just pull that through. That way you know which side is the outside. Okay, so we've done that. You can see how that's coming out. Okay, so put your stitch marker on your working loop, and for the next rounds we're just going to do single crochet around for 2 rounds. Okay, that builds up your little tube that you're making here. So count back from where your stitch marker is. Let's count back 3 just to see where you're supposed to go into. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So this little V that's right here, that is where I need to get started. And I'm just doing single crochets again, keeping them fairly loose so that I'm not pulling them so tight it's hard to get around this little tube. Okay, so here's one. Next one is this one. So here's the second. And then the last one. Okay, here we go. All right, and then one more time, we're going. All right, so there's 1 single crochet, next one over, coming up through the center, there, and then the last one. Okay, my stitch marker just fell off, so there's 3. Okay, so you're making like a little tube basically. All right, so now round 4, we're going to start by, let's place our stitch marker just so we know where we're starting. You're going to chain 4, so yarn over, pull through once, pull through twice, yarn over, pull through 3 times, yarn over, pull through 4 times. Okay, so you've chained 4. Now you single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So if this is your chain, the first chain from the hook is the first V next to your hook. Second chain is going to be this one. So you're going to go in through the center of the V, through to the back, yarn over, pull forward that second loop, yarn over and pull through. So that's the single crochet, and then we'll do 2 more of those in the remaining 2 chains. So go to the next one through the center of the V, yarn over, pull forward the second loop, yarn over and pull through, and then in that last one where your stitch marker is, we'll do another single crochet. So you're going to slip stitch in the next one to connect your little spout here, and then you're going to repeat that 2 more times, so a total of 3 times. So we're chaining 4, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Single crochet into the second chain from your hook, so not this first one, back into that second one right here, through the center of that V, to the back, yarn over, pull forward a loop, yarn over and pull through. Do that on the other 2 chains. Okay, here's the last one by the base, and then you'll slip stitch again to the next stitch on your base, and then we'll do 1 more, right, because we have 2 spouts right now, or two splashes of water rather, and then we'll chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, going into that second chain from your hook, do a single crochet, and then 2 more single crochets, and then slip stitch to the next one in the base, or the last one in the base, like so. Or pull your needle out and then cut away. Take your tail and pull the tail through the loop, just as we've been doing when we're tying things off. And that is the little spigot of water. So we'll need to tuck in this tail that's at the top here, and then if we want, we'll tether this one down there, and that creates your little water spout. Okay, nice and easy. To connect these, let's do that together. All right, so this first one that's up at the top, of the water spout. I'm just going to weave this one down into the center of our little water spout here, just so that it's out of the way. You can see the little Y sort of shape. And this one you can just cut away. And then now the one that you're going to tether with, go ahead and thread that on your needle. And you're just going to go around this center magic ring here. So going in from the outside of the magic ring, other side of the magic ring. Let's get that tethered. Okay, so position it above, and then you're going to grab another of the original base stitches that you did when you started off with your chain. So grab one of those, go back into the same stitch that you're in right there, and come to the front. You're just going around the magic ring. So the magic ring is basically the tether, right? So you won't see the magic ring once the spout's on there. Then again, you're going to grab another stitch here in the base of the fountain, and you're going to go back in where your yarn's coming from. Then go to the back of the magic ring. And these are just your tether stitches. So, and we'll just take another one. Okay, so I'm going and taking another stitch here, going to go back down into the center one, come back over to that first one here. Okay, make sure you're pulling tight. Okay, so see that? There's your little water spout that's coming up, like it's coming from the top. And then you can always take as many as you need. I just did 4 tuck stitches here, but you can always do less if you need to, or more if you need to. But I'm going to go ahead and fasten this off. So I'm just going to pick up that first stitch and tether my yarn to that, since it's the same color, and in this case for me it's white. I'm going to pull that just to knot it. Okay, lift up the knot to look where its little gap space is underneath. Go into that little gap space. Coming out somewhere else on the body is fine. So it's just tucking this in really. Okay, and then pull that so that the knot goes to the inside of the whale. And there it is. There's your little whale with his little water spout. So you'll pull and clip this away, and then take your needle and then wiggle it in, and then that's it. So that's the only part that takes a little tiny bit of sewing if you are interested. Otherwise, you can leave it. It's an optional extra little bit if you wanted it to look more like he's come to the surface of the water and he's blown out the water from the top of his blowhole. So that is the end of our little tutorial for this adorable whale. I can't wait to see how yours came out. So make sure to tag me at Frizzy Bee Crochet if you do post pictures, and you could use the hashtag gumdropthewhale, and that gave an easier way for me to find you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what colors you did and how you enjoyed making your little gumdrop whale. All right, bye guys.